Welcome to the Parker Daniels Show, where amazing stories are shared.
And be hopeful, and he'll make a way. I know it ain't easy, but that's okay.
Welcome to the Parker Daniels Show, where we make changes, no excuses. The worst things about being blind. That's what we're going to be focusing on today, at least I am. But before I does that, I'm going to send a shout out to my co-host from Rose Colored Glasses, Nicole. I want to also say what up to my friend from She's Blind that I think y'all should need to check her out over on her YouTube channel. She's Blind, Kenyatta is her name. Again, the worst things about being blind. Now, this is in no way for me to bring any type of pity to myself or any type of pittiness to the blind community. The reason why I had done this is because I've always seen like the positive sides of being blind, and let me digress by saying that if I were not blind, there would be negatives and positives of any other situations. So because of the fact that I am totally blind, I lost my sight when I was 3 years of age, for those who want to know, due to spinal meningitis. Because of the fact that I am totally blind, everything has not always been a garden of roses. And for those who know me, they know that I am not a person who is looking for any type of pity, any type of self-pity, anything of that nature. I am a go-getter, but I sat down and this month is what I'm going to be focusing on, those particular issues. I sat down and thought about, some of the things that kind of irks me as far as being blind, and I want to bring them to the light, quote unquote. So with that being said, I'm going to jump into them. There are a few of them, and I will elaborate, and I'm not going to keep you long. Just stay with me, please. Don't go nowhere. The first thing is not being able to see faces of my relatives past and present. That used to bother me as a young person. I used to wish that I could see my grandmothers, my cousins, and friends, and it was kind of getting scary to me because as I was getting older, some of them were passing away, and I had no recollection as to how they actually looked. Not saying that it was of importance to me, but I really have wanted to see how they look. And then even individuals who are current, I really wish that I would have been able to see their faces, the reflections, just to see how, how they actually look. But that wasn't the case, so I had to rely a great deal on their voice and how they sound, and just kind of create my own mental picture by using my hands to touch. So that was a way of me seeing. So that, number one, not being able to see the faces of my relatives was one of the things that I really kind of wish that I could have seen. Number two, when I was younger, not being able to drive, I kind of got over it as I became older. I don't know at what age that I was at the acceptance stage, but while I was young, man, I really wish that I could drive for several reasons. Definitely when, I wanted to just get up and go where I needed to go, do whatever I needed to do that required me going places, that was a bit of hindrance for me because I was not able to do that. And due to the fact that I was in the music business for some time and I had some shows to do, didn't really have anyone to really drive me from place to place, and I missed out on a lot of opportunities and what have you for me to further my career. So a lot of people ask me, well, why didn't you pursue your music career? That, along with a couple of other things, was the reason why I was not able to go further in my music. And I regretted not being able to drive. And also, whenever I wanted to go out on a date, and at that time there was no Uber, no Lyft or anything like that. It was either the yellow cab who charged you an arm or a leg and 3 toes, or there was the city bus that takes 7 hours to get where they had to go, come pick you up, and then once they drop you off, You have to be home by a specific time because that's in Louisiana, Baton Rouge to be exact. The buses stop running at a certain time. So, to actually go out on a date. So I tried to at least find a female that had a car so she can come pick me up. But definitely not being able to drive was a hindrance. But thanks to now, there's Uber and there's Lyft, there's all other means that we're able to go where we need to go. Number 3, this is gonna be funny. Love making, seeing the faces of my partner, and the reason why I want to use this one because it was to me it's kind of a bad thing because mentally as a blind people we have a lot of things that we think. Well, I'm saying me as a blind person, we have a lot of images in our head, at least my head, and sometimes it clouds your present day activities or the things that you're doing, current activities, the things that you're doing at that time, and sort of clouds your thoughts. And if you're with someone making passionate love with someone who can see, sometimes with me the point of me reaching my destination took a longer time than as opposed to if I can look in their eyes, we both lock eye contact and we both are in that moment, we're syncing, and we definitely, creating a magical moment. That would have been a good thing. But I've heard a lot of people talk about, they're able to, the sighted community, people, friends, that you can look in their eyes and you can, create that moment, which will allow you to create great ecstasy. It would have helped out a great deal because my concentration at that time was very hard. So, pardon the pun. The next thing, when I was younger, I used to think about the why. Why am I blind? What happened? I used to think that it was, some type of punishment from the higher up. So I had no answers to the questions that I wanted answered. So I used to feel like, man, why? Because my friends that I used to play with, my cousins and everybody, they were not sighted. I mean, they were not blind at all. So I used to think like, why me? The next one, the inability to make eye contact. And that was important, and I'm quite sure that's important for a lot of other blind people because many times I've been in a party or been in a setting where I'm not able to make eye contact. I have to, be in a situation where I have to respond when somebody else comes up to me or things of that nature, as opposed to as a sighted person. You can look across the room, you can see X, Y, Z, and you wave or give them whatever eye contact that involves come on over and talk this, that, and the third. So there have been many times, as I mentioned, I had to become complacent because I'm not saying that I'm not a person that's just an active, just go out and meet or just be an extrovert, which now I am. But back then it was a situation where I have to wait for the response of the next person. So I didn't really like doing that, but I had to deal with it. So the inability to play on an even playing field, which means that there were a lot, and there still are a lot of provisions that have to be made, especially in the workforce, that I have to have accommodations, which that's part of being blind. But sometimes employers, they don't want to want to do that. So there's a great deal of you having to make sacrifices, or you have to make accommodations, and sometimes that's a bit discouraging, considering the fact that if you're trying to find that right job, and you're not able to get that chance to do so, it kind of pisses me off sometimes. So I definitely have had that experience, and I'm quite sure some of my blind counterparts have had that experience as well. The next one is the fact of having people describe things to you, creating their own impression. Nobody is, and what I mean by that, no one is going to create images, for you like yourself, and what I mean by that, when someone describes things to me, that's their opinion of what it looks like or what things seem to be. And if you haven't had that vision, which, as I mentioned, I lost my sight when I was 3. I don't have any concept or anything like that, and it's hard for me sometimes to actually conceptualize how things look, especially coming from someone else's opinion and what have you. So there's nothing like you actually looking at an item or looking at a situation and you getting your own your opinion of what something looks like. The next one is having to still educate sighted people about blindness. Even today, with the technology and whatnot, I'm having to still educate people about how blind people do things, and that's why I'm glad that I have this YouTube channel, so that I can educate. But sometimes, as a younger person, it was a bit annoying because you have to constantly describe things to them and let them know, this, that, these, and those, regardless of of how they feel that blind people are, because a lot of people look at things on TV and they feel that this is what blindness is all about. And you have close friends who associate themselves with you, they still don't have an idea, even though they grew up with you. You're still constantly trying to explain to them what it's like to be blindness, and it's hard because if I haven't had sight, I don't know anything other than just being blind. I can't use the fact that it's dark or anything of that nature, because I have no knowledge of what darkness is all about. So that used to be a pet peeve of mine. I definitely didn't like doing that. The next one is hearing people say that this was a blessing. I get that a lot from people saying, well, maybe being blind was a blessing to you. And that goes back to the question of why I'm lost my sight, or why I'm blind. It makes me think about, how could this really be a blessing? And I don't want to get into the whole Christianity or any blame game. I just accept what they say and just move on. But people have told me time and time again, this could be a blessing to you. The next one is having people ask me if I want my sight back. I understand that people do ask questions, and that definitely is one of the questions that they do ask. It has become a pet peeve to me. Like, no, I don't want it back. No, I don't want it back. I'm doing okay with it. Without it, I never had any sight, so I'm able to function in the best way that I know how. So I've been dealing with it for so long. It just, I'm definitely used to the lifestyle that I have and what have you. So it would definitely help, considering the fact that I mentioned all these other things that that are annoying to me. I would like to, but it's not on my top list. I've accepted it and I've lived my life accordingly. The next one has to paint a picture or create a scenery by way of hearing what's going on in my surroundings. And that's what I was talking about earlier, that being though I have never seen it, it's just it's a thing for me to have to create what's going on and try to paint a picture in my mind, because I have never seen before. So for those who have seen and have lost their sight earlier or later on in lives, they're able to create images. When somebody says, oh, it looks like this or it looks like that, they're able to immediately create an image and what have you, as opposed to me, no. And I have no recollection of anything. So that's one of the worst things of being blind. And lastly, again, I don't know if I mentioned this, but a lot of people want to know what's it like to be blind. And it's hard to explain to them because they will never know. And plus the fact that if I had never seen before, it's hard for me to actually describe what it's like because I don't see light, I don't see dark, I don't see anything. It's just I have no recollection of anything. So those were some of the worst things for me as far as being blind.
Yes, I am hopeful for today. Take this music and use it. Let it take you away.